Hello, and welcome to the Simply Business Interview Podcast, a podcast created by business owners for business owners. I am your host, John Jennings. And I believe that most business owners are working way too hard for much too little. And one of our issues is that we over-complexify things. I believe the answers are almost always within us or within our reach. I like to say that I'm a simple man with simple ideas. So welcome to Simply Business. Today, I'm joined by Johnny Goode, who is the president of MSP Manufacturing. Johnny, thank you for joining us. Would you like to kick us off with a brief background as to who you are and what you do at MSP Manufacturing?
Yes, sir. So my name is Johnny Goode, and I'm the president of MSP Manufacturing. We're primarily an aerospace and defense manufacturing company, and I serve on overseeing all the operations.
Very good. So how did you come about being part? And I apologize about it. It's Goody, not good.
Yes, sir.
Apologize for that.
No,
I won't go back and correct it, but we'll just I'll get it right from now on. So tell me about your business, how you got into it, and a little bit about your background.
Okay. Well, I'll start with my background and kind of do it a little bit more chronologically. So I went to Indiana University for my undergrad, graduated from there, and got my business degree in entrepreneurship and corporate innovation. And then between my sophomore and junior year of college, I was also going through the police academy. So I worked part-time as a police officer while I was going to school, and really kind of fell in love with working in law enforcement. So after I had graduated from college, I started working full-time at the PD and worked there for about 4 years. And then I'd enlisted in the National Guard. I was a little disappointed with the lack of upward mobility, but I still really enjoyed what I was doing. So I went to the National Guard to kind of do some more specialized training in that sector. And then coincidentally, about a month before I shipped out for basic training, I had gotten on our SWAT team and then also been promoted to a narcotics detective. So went through basic training, and then one station unit training for infantry, came back, and then did about a year of training after that. And then I continued to work in narcotics in our SWAT team until about 2020. I was going through the hiring process for the FBI, and then started to kind of see where I was wanted to be in 20 years. And after working undercover for 3 years, I just was pretty burnt out, and doing that for 20 more years just seemed not a good fit for me anymore. And my first son was on his way, so all the fun stuff I did when I was younger and single and no kids weren't as enticing, and I really wanted to try to find something that was more sustainable for my family, without having to wake up at 2 a.m. to go do various actions. So my dad had purchased MSP in 2002, and I think was looking to hand me the keys right when I graduated. So in 2018 to 2020, he was kind of looking at transitioning out either for a sell or an acquisition of some sort. And then I expressed interest in kind of working part-time here to kind of test the waters before I made the full jump. And it was definitely a difficult time for us in 2020 because we were really tied to the Boeing 737 MAX, a lot of parts on that plane. And there were 2 international crashes there that caused Boeing to stop production. And then COVID happened a couple months after that. So it was kind of, and then I came in right as that was happening. So
Trial by fire.
Yes, sir. Learned through drinking through a fire hose, really, more than anything. But so I was just looking for other areas that we could grow outside of aviation, which was at the time like almost 80% of our business. So I reached out to guys I used to be on SWAT with that had left to start their own weapons companies, and then Crane Naval Station, or Naval Surface Warfare Station, is just south of us. So we increased our business with the DoD, and then as well as became an OEM for some other firearms companies. And that kind of helped us skirt by. And then in 2022, we aviation really came back and we started to get a lot more of our core product back. But going back to 2020, I'd worked kind of in business development for about the first 6 months. I made the transition after 3 months to just coming on full time. And then I took a vice president role in October of 2020, and then took the president role in January 1 of 2023. And then my dad was transitioning out and now just kind of serves more as a chairman on our board, overseeing things from our long-term strategy.
Excellent. Well, fascinating story, and thank you for your service, both on the police and the military side of things. I've affection for both. Come from a military family, and as we were sharing earlier, I spent quite a bit of time working with the FBI and local law enforcement in a previous life of mine, and it's
Yes.
it's a fascinating business to be involved with, and have tremendous respect for those folks. So thank you again for that. So you're a little over 1 year in, so it's still probably drinking for the fire hose a little bit, but
Yes.
you got the aviation business coming back strong, although I guess Boeing still is having some issues with
Yeah.
things falling off of planes, but we won't go into that.
We don't make anything attached to those. All of our stuff's in the cockpit, so that's
Good,
not
good to know. I was not going to go there. I was not going to ask you to implicate anything. But tell me, just in this first 14, 15 months in your role, what's been the biggest surprise for you as being the person at the top of the pyramid?
I've got a couple different ones, and then a lot of the stuff I was doing at the vice president is kind of a lot of the stuff I've been doing now. But I think one of the biggest surprises I had was kind of how much I enjoyed it. My biggest fear when I was younger is I could never want to sit behind a desk. I like being active, like doing things, but it's still it's a lot more rewarding than I anticipated, but also a lot more stressful than I would have thought prior to going into the seat, because I was thinking, like, being shot at or anything like that, what could get more stressful? But protecting the livelihood of all my employees and their family is more of a chronic stress than kind of a sporadic one I had before. But it's very rewarding. Our culture is awesome. So I think it's one of the best organizations I've ever been a part of, as far as it seems like everybody on the team really wants the company to succeed and does whatever it takes to. And then we generally, anything we make, try to give back to our employees and help them finish, their degrees, or continue to invest in our employees. And I think that's what's created the family-like environment we have here now.
Excellent. It's great to hear that you're working on that culture. That you reminded me of a story. When I was working with the FBI, one of my coworkers was a retired FBI agent. Whenever we would get stressed about stuff around the office, he would just say, "John, no one's getting shot at. Don't worry about it." but I think you're absolutely right. The stress of making sure you're supporting your team and putting food on their tables indirectly is also stressful, even though it's maybe not as not in the heat of the moment, but it's more of a persistent thing. So how do you manage that? Let's explore that a little bit, because I've been in that role too at times, and it is a stressful thing to kind of wake up and go, gosh, are we going to have enough sales next month, or whatever it might be. So what's your approach of managing that stress?
I think just having a really strong sense of resiliency, and kind of taking the old mottos from various units I was, like, you're never out of the fight. Like, so many people accept defeat because they think it's going to happen, or they have this preconceived notion that they're not going to succeed. My thought process is to just keep fighting until I can no longer fight. So although it might be stressful, I try to look at both the short term and long term. So trying to find those short term solutions in a timely manner, but not solely focusing on that, because if you only focus on the short term, you're really doing a detriment to the long term strategy of your company. So I just try to keep focusing on the long term and seeing also all the things that we have succeeded on too, because it's often easy to look at, oh, we missed this goal, but not really giving the importance of succeeding on the 4 of the 5. So just been trying to keep a positive mindset, and my thought process is like, if people see me stressed or that I'm disappointed, it's going to flow down to our everybody. So even though may be stressed or not in the best mood, I try to internalize it and have a poker face where I'm always positive outward at least. And I think my team has gotten a lot better at giving bad news to me, because it's like, you can't fix what you don't know is the problem. And I think just not getting emotional when sometimes they're coming to tell you something you don't want to hear, but you need to hear it. And if you get an emotional response or get mad at the person telling you, then they're no longer going to want to come to you with bad news. And I think prior to my seat, that was a notion that was there, that people were afraid to give bad news. And I'm like, I've been sat in front of the interrogated people that are telling me way worse things than you'll ever tell me. So yeah, nothing to worry about. And then also kind of rewarding when they actually come and tell you bad news or bad information. It's like, thank you, I really appreciate you coming. And then it's kind of snowballed into a more cohesive leadership team.
Yeah, excellent. That's yeah. I wrote a book, and one of the things I talk about in there is the business owner that will shoot the messenger instead of accepting the message. And I've seen many business owners that say, "Oh yeah, bring your problems to me," but as soon as they do, they end up shooting the messenger,
Yeah.
and then people go, "Okay, I'm gonna avoid sharing any bad news with him going forward." So that's good that you've invested in that aspect of your culture. That's a powerful statement. Talk about the pivoting aspect of aviation industry hit a snag, COVID, all that stuff happens. You talked about pivoting into some other industries. How did that decision come about? Was it a difficult one? Was it a just sheer survival? Tell us a little bit more about that process.
A little bit of both. So actually in the first 6 months of when I started, I was like, let's rebrand and let's change our software that we'd used for 20 years to a better one. So kind of two drastic changes for someone just coming on, and really looking back had probably should have waited longer. But the rebrand was kind of focused on appealing to a greater manufacturing need, because a lot of times we'd see our name was MSP Aviation Inc. It's still our trade name or our legal name, but
Right.
they would see the aviation in the title and like, oh, I don't want to send machine parts there. It's going to be twice as expensive because they're an aviation company. So I wanted to create this greater sense that, like, although we do have a lot of our core product that is tied to aircraft, we're willing to do work in pretty much any industry, as long as it's a good fit for our machining abilities. And so that's why I thought changing to MSP Manufacturing, we could go after a ton of different industries, and create this greater sense that we can do things in automotive if it's a good fit. Recently, I've been exploring maybe, like, is there anything in maritime that we might be a good fit, and then renewable energy as well. But
Maritime's in the news this week, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, this is being recorded a couple of days after the Baltimore Bridge incident.
Yeah, it's man, that one is a tragedy, and still thoughts and prayers to not only the families of the victims, but as well as those first responders and people hunting or looking for the bodies, because that is a dangerous act in itself too.
Yeah, better believe it. Yeah. So if you're thinking of future maritime, you just mentioned you're going to wave a magic wand and look 24 months down the road. What do you think are going to be some major moves for you guys?
So there has been a couple different boat manufacturing companies that have either added operations into Indiana or increased their operations in Indiana. And my strategy looking in 24 months, and maybe even a longer strategy than that, is to just try to use my Indiana network to get into to conversations with these companies and then try to identify any pain points they have in their supply chain. And then once we identify that, to see if there's a solution that we might be able to be a better supplier, whether it's saving them money on the cost, quicker lead times, better quality. It's kind of different industries have different pain points. Automotive seems to be very price sensitive, where other industries are more worried about quality and lead times. So I would say sometimes the price is ones we don't usually chase. And we've seen that more in the automotive industry of everyone is trying to undercut everybody, and it's almost like a race to the bottom. But where we kind of have the niche in aviation is like they want quality and lead time. They're not as price sensitive because and the quantities are lower too. So it makes sense when automotive is doing, hundreds of thousands of parts that, a penny does really have a big dollar amount associated with it. But with aerospace, like getting it wrong is so much more expensive than,
Absolutely.
adding $2 to a part. So really our long-term strategy is just to continue to identify good fits for our organization. And luckily our sales and bookings have exceeded our shipments by a significant number. So we have a huge backlog, but you got to keep selling even when you're in there. You take a break and then that's when you start to see that staircase kind of motion.
Yeah, definitely. Well, great. Thank you for that. So last question just is for young entrepreneurs, people who may be thinking of getting into this space. Obviously, this company's been around a long time, but you're a young leader in this role. So tell us what advice you would give to that young upcoming leader.
I think the two biggest ones, which I usually give, is be resilient. So you're don't let the bad things stop you. Continue to push through whatever you need to push through, and then don't be afraid of failure. I've definitely learned way more from my failures than I have from my successes, and it's inevitable that I'll continue to have more failures as I push forward. But that's part of growing, not only as an executive, but as a person too. So you'll have it in your business and personal life, and then also focusing on what's really important. So it's easy to, well, I wouldn't say it's easy, but a lot of people fall into the trap of being very financially successful, but they look back in 20 years and they missed out on all their kids' life events. They've got, more money than they can ever spend, but they don't feel rewarded. So I think trying to keep a pulse on what's important to you. So to me, I'd like to be definitely financially successful, but not risking missing out on my children's lives or not being there for family events or missing what's important to me. So I would much rather have a fulfilling life than have more money than I can spend. And I think that's getting to be more common, but and then
it really is. And I hear it more and more, and it comes up in a lot of these interviews that, about the importance of that balance.
And in business, you're gonna have a long to-do list that sometimes seem like you're not making any traction. You're gonna continue. I think someone told me the analogy that being an entrepreneur is like getting punched while riding a roller coaster. You don't know when it's coming, but you're gonna get hit out of nowhere, and all you can do is try to react and then identify potentials of where that might be happening in the future. But just do it with a positive mindset.
Excellent. Well, if someone would like to reach out to you, meet you, maybe come work for you, I know this is a time everybody's looking for good team members. Something you shared might very well resonate with some folks. So how can folks get in touch with you?
I'd say they can, LinkedIn is usually the preferred method of communication, or my email. And then we have a contact us page on our website at msp-manufacturing.com, which I'm copied on as well. So that's where a lot of people, if they have general questions for the company, they can come through there. If it's a specific question for me, then I would recommend using my email or LinkedIn.
Great. Well, Johnny Goode, thank you
Yes,
so
sir.
much for your time today. I appreciate it. I know you've given some great insights, some great wisdom from someone who just, even though you've only been in the leadership chair for a year, you've obviously developed leadership through your past experiences in law enforcement, military, and everything else. So again, thank you for all that service, and thank you for all you're doing today for business and for the aviation industry and everything else. So to our listeners, hope you enjoyed this. Like it, share it, all that stuff. And look forward to seeing you in the next episode.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked it, please share or like it on whatever platform you use. You can find me on social media. On most platforms, I'm John K. Jennings. My first book is also available. Your Baby is Ugly tells you about 10 truths that business owners need to hear, but often won't, and how to overcome them. You can find it on Amazon. Just search for Your Baby is Ugly. And be watching for our next episode, where I'll interview another business owner who will share their stories and insights into what it's like to create a great business.